Welcome to Sis Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Schwartz, and today we are doing a podcast on one of my favorite movies of the past year, another Oscar movie review with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie. And joining me today to break down that movie is Emily Woolheiser.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
And making her first appearance, Sophia Diaz.
Hi, guys.
How you guys doing?
We doing good. Well.
I'm glad to hear that. You know, we're living, as you guys just saw, having issues with my recording, which is always a lot of fun. Technical difficulties. But yeah, we're here. I think it's recording. If not, it's going to be annoying. But we're gonna push through today. We're going to endure through this and the pandemic. Bam. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is an old Western movie. Not even Western. That was dumb. Old movie about the West in Hollywood of 1969, 1970. It's Tarantino's last movie, which is sad. He's made some obviously brilliant movies throughout the decades as a director. It made $374 million on a $90 to $96 million budget, so it was a commercial success as well. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, starring three of the most recognizable stars in movie actor and actress history in DiCaprio, Pitt, and Robbie, and also tells the story, of course, of Sharon Tate and the Manson Murders, which we all learned about after we watched the movie because we're not historians. So we'll talk about that realization and now how the movie takes on a little bit different of an understanding of mixing fact and fiction of that decade's Hollywood. So what were your guys' impressions right after the movie? As I said, it's one of my favorite, probably my favorite of the Oscars season of last year.
Yeah, I agree. It was my favorite after we watched it, but like now because we watched it 2 months ago, I think, but I just find it shocking that I loved it so much and had no idea anything of what it was about after the fact until today. So that shows it's a really good movie in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was honestly a really great movie. Honestly, the only other one I might tie it with from this year's would be possibly 1917. I really did like that movie too. But other than that, I thought it was an amazing cast, a really good plot. And like Emily said, like I loved it even without knowing a lot about the history behind it. So learning about that too was really cool.
Yeah, I got to work on watching 1917 to get that podcast uploaded too, because I've heard great things about that movie, and I still have not, despite us being in a months long now, quarantine and pandemic, still have not gotten to it. So that shows what I've been up to.
Well, I did just watch this last night, so I'm kind of behind too.
That's true. We love the preparation for the assessed.
Yeah.
But so obviously, deals with the Mansons. Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate, which I know there was a lot of controversy about her character, because obviously Margot Robbie is now, after Wolf of Wall Street, Harley Quinn, and more roles in better movies that I don't know because I don't watch those kind of movies. Is a grade A actress now in Hollywood, and so she isn't. Her character is not in this movie a lot of the time. If I describe this movie to someone else, it's a 2-hour, 40-minute buddy movie of Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, which it's hard to believe that movie did not exist until this moment because it was beautiful to watch.
No, it really was. Like it was just enjoyable, and like the whole cinematography of it and just seeing Hollywood in the 60s was cool. And especially for Zach and I, because we watched Uncut Gems the night before, which was like fast-paced and anxiety-inducing. This was so nice to watch and relaxing, despite it being about murders, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it definitely gave that like very relaxing and like optimistic, like 60s kind of vibe that I really liked. And like you said, like Tarantino did a great job with like just like the aesthetic of it, and just the filming was amazing.
So Leonardo in the movie plays Rick Dalton, who is a famous actor, I guess, of the time, starring in the show Bounty Law, which a lot of these things were based off of real life. I realized going through Steve McQueen is the real life person that Leo's character was based off of. And so, but he ends up struggling. Al Pacino's character comes in the beginning of the movie and tells him, you need to do some other stuff. You're kind of toast right now. And Leo's sad and gets angry at himself a lot in the movie. So first of all, I just want to highlight, I'm going to ask later on questions about who had the best actor performance in this, because I think that it's really hard. Leo plays an actor in the movie, which means he's playing 5 or 6 different roles throughout the movie of him being an actor in a movie, which is just like, it's crazy, like, to try to process that. It's something I feel like only Leo could actually pull off. It's like, all right, I'm coming and I'm signing on to a role in which I have to play other roles that I also have to prepare for because they're based on real life. They're not just made up stuff.
Yeah. Which in a way could be easier for an actor because, well, I have no idea about anything with acting, but it's like the entire film he's kind of trying out for parts or like going through the stages of acting, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think we said it while watching the movie that he was kind of playing himself in the fact that like he was trying so hard throughout his career and he didn't get the recognition and stuff like that. Because what was the first Oscar he won? Wasn't it like, I don't know.
No, it was very recently.
It was The Revenant.
Yeah, The Revenant. I actually really like that movie. But yeah, so I feel like it was kind of funny because it was just kind of paralleling how he tried so hard in his career and didn't get the recognition. So he was kind of playing himself, which was cool.
You know, he definitely did an amazing job. But I also do think that like Brad Pitt did really good too in his role. It was definitely cool seeing him in like that aspect of it, and like kind of like how they paralleled each other and like being like he was his stunt double throughout it, and just like kind of like the differences between them. I feel like Brad Pitt was more like the laid back version, like he was so like chill the whole time, like even like at the murder scene, like he was just like completely calm, versus I feel like Leo was like going through like this whole like just kind of like struggle the entire time, like an internal struggle where he didn't like feel like recognized. So I kind of liked that too, of like the parallels of the characters and like the differences.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Brad Pitt was like made to play this role as he's still beefy, but like his peak beefy days are now behind him, and he's just like the elder DILF, and like he's just chilling like the whole movie. A lot of I feel like half of his time in this movie is him just driving around and just chilling, which was a lot of fun. And of course his character Cliff Booth. It's amazing because he almost dies twice in the movie, and I don't mean like hanging on the ledge, like kind of grappling thing, but there are 2 scenes where it really feels like he was going to die. And of course, looking back now that we know like this whole thing is looming with the Manson murders looming over it, he's a fictional character. It'd be super easy to kill Cliff Booth because Cliff Booth isn't real, and that would have been the gut punch in the movie. And I'm of course referring to the scene when he's on the ranch where post movie reading, that's where the Manson family lived. Didn't know that. And even though we didn't know that, all of us who were watching, I remember at our house, we all felt the tension. I think one of us might have said it, that he was going to die, because it's just the way Tarantino played it was so creepy. The film angles, the overall tone, even the score coming in there. You thought he was going to die. And then, of course, at the end, when all hell breaks loose, and that was the most fun I think I've had just watching a movie. Just like, what is going on right now with 2 drunk guys and a dog taking out the people who committed the Manson murders of Sharon Tate.
Yeah. It was just insane. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy over the top, but very Tarantino, I feel like.
I loved it. And also, like, you know, the first half hour, maybe 45 minutes or so of the movie, they talk about Cliff killing his wife and makes it pretty clear he did. By the end of the movie, you really don't want him to die. And I don't know what that says about. Like, Tarantino is just a great filmmaker in being able to get what he wants you to feel about the characters.
Agreed.
But yeah, so what was your guys' favorite scene?
Yeah.
I feel there's levels to this question because I don't really know what my favorite scene was because I enjoyed a lot of them. And I know we'll talk a bit about Sharon Tate more and her role in it, but I did enjoy the parts where we were just seeing who she was, and now I can appreciate it more. Like when she went to the movie theater and was like, "Oh, that's me in the film," and like no one recognized her. And I don't really know much about her and like her work in the 60s and whatever, but I guess that kind of, it might show like how her role in the industry wasn't as appreciated as like her male counterparts, which could be interesting. So I like that. And honestly, I did like the ranch scene because it was like weird because we didn't really know what that played in the show. And it was just like, what is this? I don't know. What is this here for? But now we understand it.
Yeah, the whole thing with them going out with, you know, Sharon Tate and everything like that is really interesting because I also feel like it could be what you're saying, how like, you know, back then it was really hard for women to break through because of the misogyny and stuff present in Hollywood. But it could also be, you know, her, like, based on what I've read too, kind of like she was up and coming in the way. And then unfortunately, what really got her famous was her dying and her pregnant child being brutally killed. So I feel like maybe there's a commentary on that. And it's almost like, in a way, based on how the movie ends, you know, they all get together, Rick Dalton does, and they share a drink and stuff, is that the whole movie is a what if. It takes the Manson murders and puts it on its head on Tarantino's fiction thing of what could have happened. So I wonder if that's the thing. Like Tate had this and you can see her on the rise, you know, going up, or at least first starting out, and it was just completely robbed of her.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. And I don't know, like I liked that scene a lot. The one of her in the movie theater, because it's true. And then like it kind of like shows that she was like in other movies as well, and like they still didn't recognize her, and then they were like, oh, like stand by the picture so everyone knows who you are. Like that definitely to me like did speak to like the possible like misogyny or that kind of thing, since it like felt like it had already been some time since the movies that she had been into. But I think for me, like one of my favorite scenes was that, and I also did really like the scene with Leo DiCaprio where he like gets the scene perfectly, and they're all kind of like applauding him for being like having done really well after he like went through his whole struggle inside the RV, like, okay, I have to get through this. So like right. I don't know, I kind of that too. I thought like the acting there was like really good, and just like it felt like very like raw and emotional, so I liked that.
To follow up on that, because I completely forgot about that scene until you just brought it up, since it's been so long. We had watched that movie. That was the time when Taylor Swift, The Man music video came out. And during that scene, all I thought about was, because he did well in that scene, but also I thought the little girl did well. And like all they did was praise him, and like the little girl was just like, I don't think they said anything to her. And it just reminded me of the scene in the music video when it was like, all did everything in the scene, and then the guy barely did anything, but all they did was praise her. So I don't know if that was just me in the mindset of The Man, but I thought that scene was funny because that's what I thought about.
Yeah, the little girl, you know, for the 10 minutes or whatever when they were Rick Dalton was filming that show, really stole the show there.
Yeah, she did. She was so cute. She was good.
My favorite scene's the end. I remember, you know, even though every character could have died, obviously, and the movie's setting up for that, you know, knowing what happens now. And even then, like, it was 3 people who were on acid, and instead they're sent to the house to kill Sharon Tate as they did in real life, and whoever's living at that house. And because Charles Manson, I guess, owned that house before, so that's the reason for that. But then Rick and Cliff were splitting up, working together because Rick couldn't afford Cliff's services. So first of all, I want this Leo and Brad Pitt celebrating and drinking and getting drunk. I know they didn't actually, in real life, but how fun would that be if those two were drunk together somewhere celebrating? It'd be fantastic.
After the actual film, maybe they did drink and celebrate.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, I'm sure they did. So that's all paired up. So Rick Dalton comes outside when they're in their car, playing music or whatever, the Manson people on acid, and he's drunk as shit, has made a frozen margarita, does not pour it in anything. He just takes the whole blender outside and starts yelling at them. They're like, Rick Dalton taught us how to kill people. Let's kill Rick Dalton. And then that's when everything just goes insane. Cliff Booth's dog, who I wrote down the name, the beautiful pit bull, Brandy, Miss Brandy. I mean, have we ever seen?
I forgot.
Have we ever seen a better dog actress?
I mean, it was. I'm scared of that dog. Like, wow.
Yeah, no, that was hilarious. Like, I just wasn't expecting it. All of a sudden, it was just like attack mode.
Yeah,
it's almost like.
Oh, sorry. You can go.
No, go ahead, Emily. What'd you say?
It's like we said, how the whole movie was so nice and like mellow and just pretty, and we were all always in suspense of like something happening, and it didn't. And I didn't actually think something crazy like that would happen, and then they just gave it to us, so it was nice. It was crazy.
Yeah,
but it was nice.
Those last 30 minutes was like all the action.
And I was like, what the heck?
I like how, the whole Pitbull thing, right? There's been a big movement, correctly so, that there are no really bad dogs. There's bad owners who teach their dogs poorly and all that stuff, right? So I like, once again, I support that movement. However, I love how this movie's just like, when you train the pit bull correctly, look at what they can still do. Look at how they can protect you. Because, I mean, Brad Pitt has this pit bull, completely trained, and they show it with the eating and stuff like that. Then he just yells attack. And then, like you guys said, everything it's just so unabashedly fun that Brandy was killing Mansons.
Or something. Like, it was just insane how he commanded it. It was just like, and he attacked. I loved it. It was so fun.
So yeah, and then of course the scene ends because Leo is out continuing to drink. And once again, they're both trashed, which is just I don't know how.
It just adds to it.
Yeah, you have 3 Manson people versus 2 drunk guys on the pit bull, and then somehow all the 3 Manson people are dead. I mean, of course that's how the movie was going to end, but it's just hilarious. And Leo, he's sitting there in his pool, on a floaty, drinking, and then a body crashes through his house outside, and then he goes and gets out his flamethrower from a previous movie he started, and then just torches the person, which is honestly just fantastic. I didn't know I needed Leonardo DiCaprio using a flamethrower, but I did it in my life.
No, seriously, just the most natural thing was like go straight to get the flamethrower.
It just added to like the extraness of his character, and like,
oh yeah,
it was beautiful, a beautiful scene.
Yes, so that's
like,
my.
Oh, sorry. No, just like also because I was remembering part of it too, like when the wife comes out like half asleep in like a daze, and then she just starts punching too. I'm like, what is going on? Like, it was just so funny.
Too. That was hilarious. Also, it was just very well executed.
The Italian wife he married after meeting her for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Yes. Poor lady.
I know. So did you guys like the mixing of the fact and fiction? I haven't gone back and rewatched it yet. Amazon Prime has it for $10 for streaming to buy. It's not available for rent anymore. So probably going to do that because I really do unabashedly love this movie. And it's one of my favorites of the past 5-10 years. So I haven't gotten to rewatch it with all of the knowledge I have gained over the past couple months. But how do you guys feel now about Tarantino's ability to mix made up characters and then the real characters? Because other than Robbie's Sharon Tate, there are still a lot of the real characters of the, I'd say probably 85% of the movie are real people.
Yeah, based off of real people. Well, I don't know. I just think that's really cool, and it just shows his artistic ability, because it's a lot easier to completely make up a storyline, but to have a storyline that incorporates real things into it, and it's factual yet fiction, is definitely cool. And like, you have to know enough about what actually happened to pick up on it, or in our case, look it up afterwards. I think that's cool. And then I read something that there was actual footage of Sharon Tate's films in the movie.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't pick up on it.
I noticed it too, because it was during the movie scene when she goes to the theater to watch herself. I noticed it like didn't completely look like her. So I looked at, and it looked older than the rest of the film, and it is actually her in it. And I think there was one other point, but I think that was the main point that I saw it in, that they actually used her film, which I thought was really cool too.
Yeah, that was like a nice homage. And then in the article, Zachary sent us an article from Esquire to give him credit, because it's not my own thinking. But I do think it's interesting how they changed that Sharon Tate didn't get murdered in the end of the film, just like out of respect, and it'd be kind of harsh for anyone to watch like an actual murder scene that did happen. And then there was like an actual documentary, and like her family members said it was like classless and in poor taste. So I thought it was kind of cool to like still show what was happening during that time and the characters involved, but like switch up the ending so that it was more respectful.
Yeah, and I think it kind of leaves it ambiguous. Like, a lot of it was kind of ambiguous in my opinion too, with regards to that, and like the way that they changed it. Like, I feel like he was just like trying to make it so that obviously we have like a happy ending fairy tale that like didn't actually happen. But I guess like in rewriting it, he kind of like tried to keep like that innocence and optimism that was in the 60s kind of like alive for some time. I don't know. I thought that was kind of like my view on it. But yeah, it was definitely like an interesting take. And like you said, I didn't really know a lot about it beforehand. I'm sure many people watching didn't as well. And it kind of like made me want to go and research more, as we all did, and just learn more about something that actually did happen. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
It would have been, completely, it would have shifted the movie's tone completely too if Tarantino had gone through with what actually happened with the Manson murders, because of how brutal they were, and obviously that Tate's character wasn't necessarily the biggest screen time in the film. I feel like as well the way they did it, where we still felt the real consequences of what that had happened that night, combined with the two fictional characters and a dog that destroys everybody. The way they did it, I think it kept with the tone, of the whole movie as well. It was action and stuff like that, but it was almost like hilarious action. The way, the dog was attacking people. Cliff was ramming people's heads into the walls and stuff for fun after he beat Bruce Lee earlier in a flashback in the movie, I will add.
Oh my God.
So yeah, poor Bruce Lee. I mean, he got I don't know if Tarantino and him had some beef back in the day, but not a good look for him.
Yeah, I had actually read some like criticisms on that too, and like his depiction. There was like a statement like from his like daughter that she was like kind of like upset by the way that they like portrayed him. But of course that makes sense.
It didn't offend me. I thought it was funny. So.
Well, you're not his daughter, Emily. Okay, so.
But I'm just saying the average viewer probably enjoyed it.
Yeah, so that was very interesting, I think, as well. Just obviously reflecting the tone and such like that. Who's your guys' favorite character?
I think mine was Brad Pitt. What was Cliff Booth? Is that his name? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was mine, because he was just like a really cool character, and I could just picture him in the time era, and I liked him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was gonna say him too. Cliff Booth. He was really funny, and just like he kind of brought that like just like chill vibe to it. Where I had kind of said earlier how like DiCaprio's character, like he was like very struggling the whole time, kind of like trying to figure out himself, and the whole time Cliff was like, "We got this, dude. Like you're great. Like don't freak out. Everything's gonna work out."
Like,
and like even in like the scenes where like I was like nervous that like something was gonna happen to him, like in the scene at the ranch and the scene at the end, he was just like so calm the whole time, like laughing, like, "Are you real right now? Is this actually happening?" Like I was just like laughing, like I don't know. I thought he was like a funny character that kind of brought comedy and like, relief to it. I thought it was cool.
I just feel like he was like what everyone always pictures the type of character that Brad Pitt should play, and like who he kind of is in real life. So it meshed really well.
Yeah, I mean, and then when he takes off his shirt, you know, when he's working atop the roof,
I mean,
we still.
I didn't mind that.
Still, I mean, Brad Pitt, he's over 50 now, but oh man,
I saw that.
luscious.
I wasn't sure how old he was, and I looked it up after, and I was amazed. He's like, yeah, he's 56, which is crazy.
Oh man! Wow.
Yeah.
Actually,
that that makes the scene where one of the Manson people who is named Pussycat.
Yeah, I was about to say.
When she offers him a blowjob driving, which first of all, okay, I get, you know, it's a period piece, right? It's 1969, 1970, so I mean, were hitchhikers really like, "Hey, can you take me here?" And like they had shared like one look previously. It's like, "Hey, can you take me to this place, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Ah, yeah, sure." They have like a minute or two of like, I don't know, maybe a little flirty dialogue, but like the actress, I didn't write her name down. I should have. She was like the fifth billing.
Holly, I believe was her name.
There we go.
Sing that.
Yeah, something.
Name.
So she's 25, I remember. And like she, looking before for this, talking about this, I just didn't write down the name. So it's like a 30-year difference there. And also I feel like they made it so she looks younger in the movie as well.
I think it's just like the mystery of the Manson cult. Like I felt like that just added to how kind of crazy and deluded they were.
Yeah, and like also just what I was like saying is just how many like words do you have to say to each other before, like in the 70s, you would offer someone a blowjob, like Roadhead, because it's just like it hits you hard, and thankfully at that point we haven't gotten like all of the coolness of Cliff yet, right? He's still kind of like reeling after kicking Bruce Lee's ass. The thing about him not being allowed to work with Kurt Russell, who makes a cameo in this movie, love Kurt Russell, is that his wife thinks that he killed his wife, which we get a flashback and he did. So it was a real turn for the character there. If he would have been like, "Yeah, let's do this," but he's very respectful. So declines, and then we get the fantastic ranch scene that we've already discussed. So I thought that I just want to know, like, again, it's 70s, I guess this late 60s, but how did this really go? Is that really what happened?
That was.
I mean, I guess that was the time before the Manson murders occurred, and people were crazy. So people just were willing to pick up a hitchhiker and willing to be bold. I don't know.
Just seems like a lot,
A lot.
But,
I guess it's pre-AIDS, so that's a plus.
That's true.
I guess so.
But is Rick Dalton a good actor?
Well, he has passion, and I think that shows a lot. Like, I feel like he definitely cared for his roles, and he wanted to be good, but he just suffered from like not believing in himself a lot. I don't know. I don't want to say he's bad because I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, I think that like he like was just like he went through it a lot, and I feel like he just was trying to live onto this dream where he would be huge, but in the end, like he just wanted everyone's recognition more than I think he cared for the role of acting. I think that was his biggest thing. fame. That's what he was at the time. I feel like it was that he didn't have a true passion for it. And I feel like that kind of showed in like DiCaprio's impersonation of Rick Dalton.
What a name too, Rick Dalton.
Yeah.
Perfect. It honestly fit him so well.
Yeah, and like the way he was introduced, he's already shows some successes and stuff like that, and he's just trying to hang on, and it proved really difficult for him, obviously. But eventually he went to Italy, made some bangers, came back, had an Italian wife, and things were looking up for him, before everything went down. So hopefully Rick Dalton is doing well in this Tarantino universe.
I sure hope so.
Is the movie rewatchable?
I for sure think so, yes. Because there's just so much. Continue, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For one, it's such a long movie. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there were times I like paused it for a second. I'm like, all right, gotta like bear thoughts on all of this, just because it was a lot. But I feel like going back, I'd be able to after like reading stuff after I watched it throughout the day today, and just like I don't know, I'm honestly more intrigued now by all of it, the Manson murders, and like I'll probably look into more of it because I find that stuff interesting. But I definitely think it'd be cool to go back and rewatch and kind of have like a different appreciation for like how he ended it too.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like I said, I think it's fantastic. I feel like it's something too, like with that length, you can pick up something, you can pick up something new every time. Or it's also, I think, really, like I was kind of saying earlier, I feel like it's almost a movie of scenes rather than just like a whole continuum thing. Yeah. So when this gets put on TV and stuff like that, you're popping in, you're looking for someone to watch at night, whatever. You pop in and the ranch scene comes on, or it's the end, or it's the Sharon Tate scene at the movie theater. Like it's definitely like that. Or like if you're on YouTube or whatever, and when they post the scenes, I feel like it's that type of movie too, where it's like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and watch like 8 minutes of this here, and I might watch the whole thing, I might not, I don't know, and you keep going like that.
That kind of brings up a good point, because it's honestly like a work of art in a way that it's sort of what you put into it and what you pay attention to and what you choose to like look at it as, like that's what you get from it. So I think interpretation in it is something that's individual, that when you keep watching it, like you'll like definitely see more. So I don't know, it's very cool.
Sure. What did you guys think of like the very end? Because I thought it was kind of funny, like after Cliff leaves in the ambulance and then Sebring just like is casually like, hey, what's going on? Explains so casually, like, yeah, he just came into our house and my friend killed 2 of them and I killed the last one. I felt like that was like very like comical almost, like just like the way it all like came together. Yeah, and he was just like, yeah, that happened.
Yeah, I think that was funny because it definitely took the tension off the scene, and just like what we've been saying, how it made a scene that was so gruesome and like full of murder and crazy into just like funny and realistic.
Yeah, especially with, Sebring and Polanski and Tate, everyone in that house being killed. And they come out and you're like, what was going on over there? And they're like, well, this went on. And they're like, cool, come have a drink. And he's like, all right. And then that's his next stop in his acting career, And I think, that's what I kind of was trying to hit on earlier. It's like it's just a giant what if with that kind of thing. And so. Yeah, I think it was a good way to end it, back to the chill kind of thing. And of course Cliff going off in the ambulance, just Cliff as always.
Soldier, warrior.
always a soldier. What was your favorite piece of like digging up stuff about the Mansons and everything? Learning about it, because I didn't know it was a whole cult or anything like that. I just remember I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and this investigative reporter was talking about how there's some evidence that it was related to the FBI with their LSD stuff, and maybe that's what it was. So I was like, and then they halfway through, because this podcast are 3 hours, I hear Sharon Tate, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what? We're talking about who? And then I went on, and I was like, oh, and figured that out. So what was your guys' favorite, I don't know, favorite or whatever, piece of research, coming up with stuff, going down. I mean, the Manson family is a legit rabbit hole you can dig down, and many people have before, so.
So me, I thought it was, like, I've read, like, a bit. I didn't get to go through too much, but like I was also like relating it back to the movie. So I found it interesting, like, because they only really had like one scene of like Manson in it for about 2 seconds, where he just like stopped by the house previously and was just like, oh, does so-and-so still here? And they were like, no, we're renting it. And I was just like curious about it. And like I looked it up, and like he actually was like he thought like he was very into the Beatles, based some of his stuff off of like some of their records, and like he became friends with for a little while one of the Beach Boys. I can't remember who it was, but like even lived with him for a couple months. And that's how he got to know the guy that lived in the house before Tate did. So before Tate started renting it, and he was a producer, and he had like, I guess like made this promise, or like said he would like try and help Manson before all of this happened, when he was friends with the Beach Boy. And it didn't go through, and that's why he like had that hatred towards that house, and he like sent them there that day, like saying like, oh, like we have to like make it look wickedly what happened in that house, like so that the producer could be freaked out thinking that it was coming for him because he was renting out the house. So I thought that was kind of like weird and interesting how he like was so obsessed with this idea of becoming like famous in the music world.
Yeah. Wow, that was some good deep diving. I think for me, it was just finding out like a lot of the characters in it were actually real and actually like based on someone. Like the character Squeaky, who was played by Dakota Fanning. I was so excited because I love Dakota Fanning when she was on it. But then when I was reading on it, her character was actually like a real person, and although she didn't play too much of a significant role in the movie, in real life she didn't participate in the murders. In real life, she went on to attempt to assassinate then President Gerald Ford, which like that's kind of crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. And just even reading about the cult and the girls itself in it, like in the movie, we see them dumpster diving, and that was before I had any idea who they were and what they were doing. And they're just like singing and I don't know, being weird and holding hands and whatever. And then I read how on their murder trial, they were walking, holding hands and singing, which is just crazy.
So creepy.
I find cults very interesting. So I'm probably going to continue to research this because it's hilarious.
I thought you really were going to say after that you find cults interesting that you were going to join one at some point. No, that's what's going to end up happening. I really thought that's where you were going. Excuse me. I think, first of all, shout out to Gerald Ford. Forgot that guy was president. My history minor working well there. I read his name. I was like, oh, yeah. Forgot about him. Anyway. Well, he took over he wasn't elected, right?
I don't think he was. I don't remember.
The people...
No idea.
People listening to this podcast didn't think they get this much Gerald Ford content. We're educating because of COVID.
Oh, gosh.
But also, like, there was something I saw that with the guy who owned the ranch that Cliff was trying to see, that I guess the girls would... largely we're reading this, from different articles and stuff. I'm not like saying this is a peer-reviewed Harvard Journal paper. But apparently some of the Manson family girls would have sex with him so they could still live there on the ranch. They just appeased him even though he was blind. They're like, all right, like I wonder how they did that process. Like, did they draw names out of a hat? Was it like a weekly chore list? I mean, I just wonder how that worked. When like it's literally like when sex like that becomes a functional, literally just a functional purpose to where this cult could still reside on that property.
Yeah, I read that too. I thought that was very interesting. But I mean, at the same time, like, I guess, like, if there's nothing else they could do and they need to stay on there, you know, I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, Gerald Ford took over because of Watergate. That's why.
Oh. We're digging up some good stuff.
There you go, kids. It was Richard Nixon, that pesky spy.
Oh, amazing.
That's what happened. Okay, we've hit the 40-minute mark. Do we have anything else to discuss regarding this movie? I can go forever long on this.
There's just a lot to unpack. And while it was fun watching it, having no idea, and I assume anyone who's listening to this will now know a lot about it, but I guess watching it with knowing about the Manson murders and Sharon Tate and all that would definitely make it more enjoyable, but I guess that's why you rewatch it. But I don't know. I just think it was a great movie. Like, I just liked watching it, and I felt calm, and it was enjoyable, and I think that's what makes a good movie to me.
Yeah. No, honestly, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was I've only seen like 3 or 4 Tarantino movies, but I thought it was honestly one of his best. I really, really liked it. And from this year's nominations as well, I thought it was one of the best. So it was definitely good, definitely worth a rewatch too. And honestly, it helped me learn more about history too. So that's a plus.
Same.
Yeah, if you're born after 95, you have to type in Manson Murders to Google. They just didn't cover that. They never covered it anywhere.
Yeah.
They really never did.
I feel like I've heard that name Manson like a million times in my life, and it's just one of those things that like I'm like, oh, Manson Murders, but I had no idea what it was about. Like, not one clue, which is kind of pathetic, but whatever.
I mean, I don't think so. I'm the same way. It'll help out with a lot of the tension during some of these scenes. For sure. I love it. Watch it. Let us know what you guys think. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us. Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yes, great first experience for me.
Excellent.